So our next speaker is Darija Udovicic Mahmuljin. Am I even close? I'm in the neighborhood. You can come up here and pronounce your name afterwards so we get it right. From Perkins International. She's going to talk about steps toward a better life, improving access and quality of education for deafblind children and youth through partnerships. Welcome.
So, good afternoon, everyone. Do I need to do this? Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for inviting me here. And I will be talking about improving quality of life from a different angle that you have been hearing until now. And that is through the improving access to the high quality and appropriate education to the children and youth who are deafblind or with additional disabilities. I come from Perkins International, and that is a part of Perkins School for the Blind. Just a second. Yeah. Perkins School for the Blind was the first school for the blind in the United States that was established nearly 200 years ago. And it was also the first school in the world that educated a person that was deaf-blind. And that was not Helen Keller, that was Laura Bridgman, even 50 years before Helen Keller. And I would also like to mention Helen Keller as well, but not the way that you would think I would. I would like to mention her with her teacher, that was Anne Sullivan, who was mentored by Laura Bridgman, and who has a strong belief that Helen could learn, and that her dedication and her quest for the ways that Helen could learn actually brought Helen to what she has gained later on in life. And Anne Sullivan remained her teacher, as you all know. But I want to stress that because that's what we in Perkins do, and that's what we are good at, to expertise of teachers for children and youth who are deafblind and with additional disabilities. We do think that quality teachers with the right dedication really do make change in their life. So Perkins International was established in 1989 by Perkins School for the Blind to support the development of that quality education throughout the world. Our mission is to ensure that all underserved children and young adults with deafblindness and additional disabilities and visual impairment receive and have access to a quality and appropriate education. We work on our goal through the partnerships with the orphanages, schools, universities, ministries, family organizations at local, regional level. So wherever we find a partner that truly believes in our cause and that is willing to do a change. We want to break the isolation and neglect these children face, transforming their futures through the power of learning. So Perkins International today, we work in 70 countries throughout the world, through Europe, Asia, Africa, Latin America, Caribbean, Middle East, and North Africa, building capacity at local, regional, and national level to develop independent and sustainable educational systems that will transform the future of those children. We do those trainings and those partnerships even on a grassroots level. Even if there were programs, we built partnerships with programs with only 2 children and 1 teacher, with family organizations with only wish to make a change. And sometimes even those programs with our support and other support made a huge change and impact to the society and local community. Because every child counts, and we think all of these children and all of these possibilities add up to bigger change and the bigger impact to the society and community they are in. But we have a challenge, and the challenge is that according to the World Health Organization, there are 6 million children and young adults from 0 to 24 in the world that are deafblind and or with additional disabilities. Unfortunately, a vast majority of that huge number is not receiving the education they would need. So we consider them as the world's most vulnerable children. Far too often they are excluded from the education systems. Instead of going to school, they are left at home. And unfortunately, in many cases, they are left in orphanages and children's homes where they risk being as isolated and neglected. And for those children who are lucky enough to go to attend schools, inadequate teacher training is a fundamental issue. Because teachers do struggle if they do not have their special skills. How would they meet the unique needs every and each of those child have? Thankfully, the world community has acknowledged needs for solutions. So with Sustainable Development Goals, disability education is a renewed priority. Global leaders have committed to providing a quality education for all children, including those with disabilities. So that Sustainable Development Goal number 4, quality education for all until 2030, provided us a window of opportunity to create the systemic change to achieve that goal. So Perkins International, with its expertise, is committed to making quality education accessible for that vulnerable group of children. Further on, UN Committee on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities had a declaration where they said inclusive education is a human right, including to those with disabilities. And in that declaration, the committee specifically identified individuals with deafblindness and multiple disabilities among those who are most at risk of being excluded. So we do have to do something about it, and to build on that momentum, Perkins has designed a global strategy to achieve quality education for some of the world's most vulnerable children. So we had consolidated 97 years of global teacher training with it since 1920, and we launched global campaign in 2017 in United Nations through Perkins International Academy to help governments meet their commitment for the Sustainable Development Goals. We designed Perkins International Academy to be implemented in partnership with governments, universities and NGOs. The course establishes international competency standards for teachers working with children with multiple disabilities. There are 4 levels of education, finishing with train of trainers, which is a blueprint how we can reach a bigger number of children. Our strategy is not only through the courses, but also, as I've already mentioned, through building, through partnerships, model programs, centers of excellence that will be models for best practices, training and replication, where communities need a place where children and their families can go for a quality education, for resources to support their children at home, for inclusive settings to get the resources how they could meet the needs of their students at the best and appropriate way. We also do have technical assistance and supports through our country representatives, where we do on-site mentoring and trainings, government agencies support, NGO support, and of course a lot of it to family organization support. And as a final thing, we do have international education leadership program, and that is a 9-month intensive program that supports international educators from all around the world, where they learn best practices in Perkins and Boston College and disseminate them in their native countries. The history was in late 1920 when we started with this teacher program, but it became solely international in 1989. So every year 15 teachers around the globe come and get their skills. And when they come back to their native countries, usually they are the forefront of change in education systems and policy systems in their countries. Because not only that they learn skills, but they witness the power of change that really appropriate education has to a life of children and youth and their families. And they really become a major ones that do the change and our partners in their countries. So at the end of this short presentation, I would really like to emphasize that knowledge and skills are the cornerstones that create good practice, model programs and policies for children with disabilities around the world, but also attitudes. Far too often we have been encountered with a situation that we couldn't even believe that was coming from the even persons and organizations we would not expect it. And that is that at the heart issue is often deeply seated misbelief that children with especially profound disabilities or multisensory impairments cannot learn. And whatever we do, we have to have that in mind, and we have to change the attitudes and perceptions, because without that, we have to change it not only with policymakers, but also with teachers too many times, and also with families. So we have to have that in mind, change it, because in attitudes and perception of that, they have powerful ability to determine whether these children can achieve a good quality of life or not. We believe that all children can learn and thrive. We believe that education enriches lives of individuals and prepares them for active roles in community, in their families and school. And we have worked on that, and we believe that all children have the right to be given a chance to learn new skills, because only when learning new skills, that is the way how they can get the sense of accomplishment. And we all need a sense of accomplishment to feel recognized, and we feel recognized and that we accomplish something. That is how we get to be a part of society, and that is what it gets us to lead a more fulfilled life. Thank you. Too many. Yeah, okay. That's enough. Udovicic. Oh, it's complicated.
So thank you, Darija, for that. That was excellent and very important stuff.